Today I thought I would take you along with me as I do just a real quick meal prep. I have some chicken that I purchased from a friend here in town, and I'd like to do some frozen meals with it and get it popped in the freezer real quick, and then I'll go ahead and make our dinner tonight. So we're going to do a cilantro lime chicken, and then I'm going to do an Instant Pot Hawaiian chicken, and I'm going to do one for dinner tonight, and then I'm going to make a batch and freeze it for another time. And then I also have a lot of jalapenos from the garden that I need to use up. So I thought I would do a cowboy candy, which is just kind of a sweet jalapeno pickled pepper. I'm not going to water bath can it, I'm just going to pop it in the refrigerator because I think we'll eat it pretty fast. So we're going to do that, and then I'm also going to make some chicken meatballs that I will bake and then pop in the freezer. I think those will be really good for my kids' school lunches and just some quick, easy dinners here at home. We are entering into school and sports and all of those things. My husband and I really value having family dinners here at home, and so in order for us to do that in our season of life, I have to be really thoughtful and prepared. And so we do a lot of Instant Pot meals, a lot of crock pot meals, and then having frozen prepared meat in the freezer is really helpful. And I like to do that with, different marinades and different flavors, so it's not just plain chicken that then I have to figure out what to do with. I do have that sometimes, but a lot of times I try to do this scenario. So I'll take you along. I'm going to get started with chopping up this pineapple before I chop up some jalapenos and get this cutting board all spicy. I'm going to do some bigger pineapple chunks because I don't think I'll need all of this. Oops, dropped one on the floor. I don't think I'll need all of this for the Hawaiian chicken, and my children will love this just as is. So we'll do some bigger chunks for that. I'm just going to grab another bowl for this one because the recipe calls for finely chopped pineapple chunks. So I just want to make sure I do that. The recipe calls for 2 cups, and I am doubling this, so hopefully we have enough. I actually might need to use all of this pineapple. We'll see. Okay, call that good. That actually looks like plenty. The thing with meal prep days, you just have to be okay with the mess. With the core of the pineapple, I actually cut it in cubes and then put it in a bag and stick it in the freezer and use it for smoothies. It's a great way not to waste it, and I still feel like there's great flavor on it. So we'll just do that and stick it in a bag. So back here on the stove in this pot, I actually have a cup of apple cider vinegar and 2 cups of honey, and that is for my cowboy candy or my candied jalapeños. And I'm going to add some chili pepper, turmeric, and ginger to that mixture and just kind of let it simmer. It's going to thicken up a little bit. And then I will chop up my jalapeños, I think probably about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm gonna keep the seeds in them. It's going to be pretty spicy, but that's okay. We'll still enjoy that. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons of chili powder, a teaspoon of turmeric, and a teaspoon of ginger. I'm gonna get chopping these jalapeños. I have a lot of them. I'll try to go fast here for you. I do not have gloves. That would have been smart. So I'm just gonna watch how much my hand touches the juice or inside of these jalapeños. I do not want burning hands later. We'll do some of these red ones in there. They'll look really pretty in the jar. I'm gonna save the rest of those and do some jalapeno poppers. My family will be thrilled with those for sure. Who doesn't like bacon and cream cheese and jalapenos? So I'm just giving this a stir. Get all those spices mixed in. It's such a pretty golden color. I'm gonna put these jalapeno tops in the compost real fast, and then we'll give those a stir. And they're just going to simmer in the pot for about 4 minutes, and then we'll transfer them to some clean jars, pour the syrup over top, and then stick them in the refrigerator. Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to prep all the ingredients that are going to go into the freezer bags and the Instant Pot before I bring over the raw chicken, just so I'm not, I know it's all kind of going together, but yeah, I don't know why I'm doing that. I just am choosing to do that. I don't have those nifty bag holders, which would make this process probably a lot easier, but we'll make do. I've seen people put these in bowls or taller containers, so that's a smart idea, but they stand up well enough. If you fold over the edges, they especially do. All right, so to the Hawaiian chicken bag and the Instant Pot, I'm going to add about 2 cups of pineapple. Stick the rest in there. We're going to put in 2 jalapenos. Guess I didn't need to clean my cutting board. I'm doing it again. Oh well. I am going to take the seeds out of these just to keep it not super spicy. My little one, she can handle some spice, but I'd rather not make it super spicy for her. So you just take the seeds out, and you can leave some of it. It's okay if it's a little bit. And I'm going to dice them quite small. Move that over so you can see at least a little bit. This is where my hand is going to start burning. All right, so I'm gonna add half of that to the bag and half to the Instant Pot. Okay. And actually, before I clean this off again, I'm going to cut 2 more and put them in my cilantro lime. The recipe doesn't call for jalapenos, but I think why not? I have them. It's a great addition. Half in this bag. And the other half in that bag. So to the Hawaiian chicken, we're going to add 3 garlic cloves to each. This garlic is from our garden, which is super fun. If you're trying to get the paper off of garlic, you just kind of give the back of the knife a hit with the palm of your hand, and it smashes it, and then I kind of take the pointy part and just sort of knock the clove out, which sometimes it works. There we go. Makes it easy, quick and easy. I should have just done more because the cilantro lime chicken needs it as well, but oh well. So again, half in that bag, half in the Instant Pot, and here we go, round 2. Only have 3, but that's okay. I think the recipe calls, let's see. You know what, it doesn't even call for garlic, but I am a person that kind of just does what I think sounds good and what I have when I cook. So I am just going to add garlic. To the Hawaiian chicken, we're going to add 1 red onion to each. And here's where my eyes start burning, like immediately. Oh, my goodness. This must be a really strong onion because, wow. I can barely see right now. I know there's so many tricks, but I am just trying to do this fast. Full of tears. Oh, that's good enough. To the cilantro lime chicken, I'm going to add a yellow onion. Again, this recipe doesn't call for this, but I think it will taste better with it, so I'm going to add it. I'll do 1 onion per bag. Almost forgot about my jalapenos back there. It's probably been over 4 minutes, but that's okay. I'll look at them after this. Just kind of roughly chopping these. Let's go ahead and put some of the jalapenos in this jar. I think this is the right size jar for this. They really kind of, not shriveled, but got a bit smaller. So, oh, actually, no. I'll probably have to fill up 2. There is a lot of liquid left. I don't know if I should have had more jalapenos in there or done a lot less liquid. It usually calls for sugar, but I don't have any, and I also don't love that the recipe wanted like 4 cups of sugar. I think that's crazy. So, like I always do, I change it up to meet our needs and our desires. It's not a bad thing to do that. The more you cook and bake, the more you get used to that. Kind of scoot them down, make sure there's no air bubbles in there. Okay, I'm gonna call that good. I'm going to wipe the rim of the jar and put the lid on. I might just let it sit here on the counter and cool off before I stick it in the refrigerator because it is very hot. Hi, how are you? All right, sorry about that. My kids just got home from an errand that they're running, so let's get back to this. To my Hawaiian chicken, I'm going to add some chili powder, cumin, salt, and it says sriracha, which I don't have, but I have this fermented chili paste, which will work perfectly for that. I'm going to add a teaspoon of chili powder, teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of sriracha, or in my case, chili sauce, and a tablespoon of yellow mustard. I'm just gonna eyeball it. That's what I usually do. The last thing other than the chicken is a 1/4 cup of water, and I'm going to add that to the Instant Pot, but I am not going to my bag that I'm sticking in the freezer. I'll just make a note on the bag to add that when I get ready to cook it. I'm going to give that a stir in the Instant Pot. Okay, so here's my big bowl of chicken. These are chicken thighs. I'm going to separate them among these 4 meals. The recipe for the Hawaiian chicken calls for about 1.25 pounds to 1.5 pounds of chicken thighs. I'm gonna go ahead and separate the chicken through all of this and just kind of evenly separate them. So I'll add 10 to each bag and see where I'm at there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now that it's evenly separated into my bags, my guess would be that I have about 2 pounds of thighs in each bag, which is a little bit more than the recipe calls for, at least for the Hawaiian chicken. Let's see. Nope, 2 pounds for the cilantro lime, so that works. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure it will have plenty of spices and liquid, especially since they're chicken thighs. I'm going to mix this up. You just want to make sure that all the chicken thighs are evenly coated with all the spices and flavor in here. I'm going to squeeze a little bit more air out. Try to get as much out as we can. I am going to freeze these on a pan. When you freeze them a little bit flatter, they will thaw quicker. So let's finish up the cilantro lime chicken. We need to add a little bit of olive oil. It says 1/2 cup, feels like kind of a lot, so I did not do that much. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of honey. Again, just eyeballing it. Says 2 tablespoons of chili powder. Oh my goodness, let me see if I have some more. I have some more. So nice when you are actually prepared. I must have done that a while ago, knowing that I needed more chili powder. I love these little spice jars. I just stick them right here in my spice cabinet. I don't know if you can see that opening. Just have a couple levels of the spices and these great lids. I can just easily pop them on and off, and I have a little label maker that I labeled all of the spices. Just makes cooking and baking so much easier. Oh, tablespoon, oops. A teaspoon of salt. Some black pepper. Says half a teaspoon. I haven't started my Instant Pot yet. We're not quite ready to do that for dinner, so I'm just gonna hold off on doing that. So it calls for the zest and juice of 2 limes. I actually only have 3 limes, which is fine. I have a little bit of some lime juice in the refrigerator, so if I feel like I need to use that, I will. I might just call it good with 3. Sorry, I keep getting interrupted by my kids, and so we're going back and forth a little bit from this. So I apologize if it seems a little bit choppy and it's kind of a mess and a disaster, but that is just life, and part of being in motherhood is being flexible. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. So here is all of my lime juice. I'm just going to split it between, let's see, about halfway to the I'll clean that up here in a second, but we are going to chop up some cilantro. I don't know about you, but when I chop up cilantro, I am not picky about the stems. I just kind of go after it one way or another, stems and all. I'm gonna save some of this for our dinner tonight. And then the rest of it will go in the Cilantro Lime Chicken bags. And then those will be done. Squeeze the air out of these bags. And we'll do the same thing, just mix it all around. It's actually easier to mix it around with air in it. Probably looked ridiculous. There we go. I changed out my pan because I know I need my shallow one for the meatballs later. Okay, there we are. I'll stick these in the freezer and I'll clean up a little bit. And then I'm going to make a Jalapeno Ranch Dressing that we'll have on the side with our Hawaiian Chicken tonight. And then we'll get started on the meatballs. All right, we're gonna finish this day up with our meatballs and our jalapeno ranch. I have 2.5 pounds of ground chicken in here, and then I had purchased 4 pounds, so I just put 1.5 pounds in here, and I'm just gonna stick this in the freezer as is. I often use this for stir fries or power bowls, things like that. I like to sometimes have non-seasoned chicken in the freezer. It's just a nice thing to have on hand. So I'll stick this in the freezer, and then we'll go ahead and start on the meatballs. I'm not following a recipe here. This is just something I kind of do by memory and sort of what we have on hand. It's a real simple thing to do, and there's so many different varieties that you could do with it all. You could make it more of an Italian spin. You could do more of an Asian spin. You could keep just salt and pepper and garlic and onion powder, and I don't know, really, really simple. So in my bowl, I just added 2 eggs. I'm going to cut up this little onion. It's the only onion I have right now, so we'll just maybe add a little bit more onion powder if I feel the need for it. With meatballs, I do like to chop my onions really finely. That just seems to be what my family's preference is. Okay, so that is finely chopped onion. So I just have a bunch of herbs from the garden that I'm going to chop finely and add into my meatballs. I'm also going to use them for my Jalapeno Ranch Dressing. So I'm going to add that to the bowl here so I can just do two things at once. These are chives. If you could grow one thing in your garden, I would suggest fresh herbs. They're really easy. Lots of fun. I think it really makes you diversify when you are cooking at home, and you learn a lot just by using fresh herbs. I'm gonna add a lot of fresh herbs because we like that. And then let's see, what does it say? A 1/4 cup of fresh chives. That's probably around there. You'll see that I don't really follow measurements sometimes. It might drive some people nuts. I'm sorry if it does. I have some flat leaf parsley and curly leaf parsley. Just gonna kind of cut the stems off as much as I can. So it says another 1/4 cup. That looks about right. I have some basil. You can see that it's going to seed some of it, so I really need to start using more of this basil. It's kind of warm in here, which reminds me I need to preheat the oven for these meatballs. I just set it to 400. I feel like that's a good place to cook meatballs. I only added the basil to my meatballs. I just don't want the basil taste in our ranch dressing. And then also I'm going to add some sourdough breadcrumbs. These are some breadcrumbs that I made from some sourdough bread that I had made a while ago that we just ended up not eating, and it kind of went a little bit hard and stale. It's a great opportunity to make breadcrumbs. So I'm going to probably about 1/2 cup, I think, probably 1.5 teaspoons of salt. A teaspoon of garlic powder. And you know what? Might as well just add a little bit more onion powder. A little olive oil, just because chicken isn't super fatty. You want a little bit more fat in there. I'll just take my ring off here. The easiest way that I have found to do meatballs is just to use your hands, mix that all up, and then use a smaller muffin or cookie scoop and just plop them all on your pan and then go and kind of roll them and shape them. You could also add Parmesan cheese. That would be a really good addition in here. Just make sure it's all mixed really well. You don't want to mix it too much just because I think sometimes that can make the meat a little bit tougher. This is going to make a lot of meatballs, which is great. You can have them for lunch with maybe some sort of dip. I could heat them up and put them in my kids' thermoses for school, which is probably what I will do a lot of. It's a great way to just get some good protein in them. I keep hearing the jars pop back there from the candied jalapeños. That's good, it means they're sealing. Not well enough to store on the pantry shelf. Definitely still needs to go in the refrigerator. So you can see I'm like so sloppy with this and just trying to move fast. But then you'll go back and shape them. It's very sticky, so they're not going to roll super well in your hand. I find that ground beef or like an Italian sausage does a better job at that. As long as we get them in a uniform ball, I think it's fine. I just call it good there. You'll notice that I didn't put any kind of parchment paper down. I just haven't found that like I needed that with these. I'll just wash my hands and we'll pop these in the oven. So for the Hawaiian chicken, it says to cook it on high pressure for about 10 minutes. I'm going to probably do 15 minutes just because I have a little bit more chicken in there than is called for. And then the recipe actually calls for you to stick it on a lined baking sheet and broil it for a little bit. I actually don't know if I'm gonna do that. I know that it would add to probably the flavor and give the chicken a little bit of like a charred kind of taste. I don't know if I have time for that tonight, and I think that it's going to be delicious regardless of that. Let's go ahead and start on this jalapeno ranch dressing. It sounds really yummy. I think it's gonna be good. Okay, so I have some mayonnaise in here. It's about a cup, which is probably a little bit more than what the recipe is calling for, but it's just what I have on hand, and I'm just going to not messy another jar and just use it up. So we're going to do a 1/4 cup of olive oil. I think maybe since I have some mayonnaise and it isn't as thick as it usually is, I might not add as much oil. So I added some white wine vinegar, about a 1/4 of a cup, and it says a jalapeno. Roughly chop it. I'm gonna use my immersion blender, so I'm not worried about bigger chunks right now. And then we have the fresh parsley and chives, a teaspoon of dried dill. It calls for a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I just added about a teaspoon, and some black pepper. Some garlic, which this is some garlic that I had preserved with some olive oil a while ago, so I'm just gonna add that instead of a fresh clove. Let's see if I can do this with my immersion blender and not make an absolute mess. That is delicious. This is really good. That's gonna be so yummy. You could do a lot with that. We could even use that for a dip for the meatballs, honestly. That would taste delicious. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. We did a lot today, and I'm super thrilled about what I have in the freezer and what we're gonna have for dinner, and some meatballs that are cooking that I'll show you here in a little bit. The Hawaiian chicken turned out delicious. I highly recommend giving this recipe a try. It's linked down in the description box below. We served it as a taco bowl. I just layered a bowl with tortilla chips, the Hawaiian chicken, some leftover mango salsa, and some lettuce and cabbage dressed with the Jalapeno Ranch Dressing. It was so good. Meal prep days like these are so helpful and truly make the busy days go so much more smoothly. My family is fed good, wholesome food, and Mom isn't stressed out. That's always a win. I wanted to show you a few ways we have enjoyed the items from today's meal prep. The Jalapeno Ranch Dressing is definitely my new favorite, and I have made it multiple times since. We enjoyed it on this delicious salad, which was cucumbers, beets, tomatoes, topped with basil, goat cheese, and the ranch dressing. It got devoured. The meatballs are delicious and went very fast, but with the dressing, it was even more enjoyed, alongside some roasted smashed potatoes and a garden salad. I hope this gave you some ideas for your home and family. Let me know if you enjoy these types of videos, and I'd love to hear what kind of meal prep you find helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.